America, my name is Osei-Frimpong. I come to you live every Thursday about this time. Today we're going to talk a little bit about why marriage is not a business. You'll see all these people, especially on the internet and media, which is a business, telling you that marriage is a business and it's a contract, and you need to make business moves when you think about marriage. And that is unfortunate because marriage is not a business. Businesses are alienable entities that when they go bust, that's perfectly appropriate. You can just start another one, right? In a fluid market. And in fact, the market depends on you being able to start a new business. That's why we have bankruptcy laws, and businesses are alienable entities. They are not a part of you. Whereas in a union, it becomes a part of you. You get to be who you are. You were not what you were prior to entering the union in the same way that you are after entering the union. So it is not some alienable part of you. You can't sell your marriage in the same way that you can sell your business. The marriage doesn't exist for the sake of some abstracted you in the same way that a business exists for the sake of your own private profit. Marriage does not exist for the sake of your own private profit. The family is your arena of privacy, right? It's an immediate unity, so that there is no you outside of, in a way, there is no you outside of the marriage. You don't become non-married when you conduct yourself in other forms of business. You're just a married person conducting yourself in this other form of business, right? So businesses, and same with property relations in general, are about alienable goods. But marriages and immediate unities, like marriages when you're one flesh, is about you not being able to alienate yourself. So businesses create products that are also alienable from the person who owns the business, whereas marriages and families create products that are not alienable from the unity that created them. That's why every time I think divorce is a form of child abuse. Divorces should be like abortions, safe, legal, and rare. And because there is no splitting a child, there's no alienating the child from their parent, because I think children should have access to their parents, like as a matter of right. I think it's a form of child abuse to not give a child access to their parents. And this access can't be 50-50. It has to be, because parenting in a family, since it's a union, isn't a matter of 50-50. It's 100-100. And if you don't get that, anybody who doesn't get that and speaks in terms of 50-50 and halving the equation of what it is to be in a family, they don't understand. It's not like I have 3 kids. It's not like I love them each a third. Right? No, I love them all. Spiritual math doesn't work like cutting up a pie. Spiritual math is not quantitative in the same way. It's quantitative in a different way. I can love them all 100%. Me and Jesus. All right. I'm going to hit the beat and come back and explain to you why marriage isn't a business.
To the beat, y'all. Yeah. Sound good to me. Never change the ways for the world or the government. If I was the president, then I would state facts. You leave it up to me, I'll paint the White House black and ain't no future in your front.
It's not a business. Marriage is not a business. It's an ethical unity. That means you are one flesh, and what happens to the other person happens to you. And you care about the other person because the other person is a part of you. So there's a general welfare concern within the ethical unity that's separate from your relationships with other people with whom you're not unified in an immediate way. Right? And there's nothing mediating you between you and your spouse. That's why, you can't really play defense against a bad spouse. So be very careful about who you marry, because you can't play defense against them. Because, you can say, well, I'll sleep with a gun under my pillow, but you share the same pillow. Right? There's no way you can. If your spouse wants to kill you, your spouse will be able to kill you, and there will be no evidence. Right? And if you marry a spouse who's so dumb that they can't figure out how to kill you without there being evidence, you married an idiot, because it's actually pretty easy to kill your spouse. Spouses kill each other all across America every day. So much, it's simpler than divorce. You don't have to go through the paperwork, and you get sympathy. You don't have to split up friends or assets. Spouses kill each other every day, and there's no way to stop it. So watch who you marry, because that person is going to be fixing your coffee, and they can just slip a little bit of bleach in it, and then there you go. And we don't do autopsies like you think we do autopsies. That's just a wrap. Talk to any lawyer or coroner who's been in the business for long enough. They'll tell you the truth. And I'm just, you heard it here. I'm just telling you what it is. In the comment section, in the chat, y'all know I'm telling the truth. So marriage is a unity. It's an immediate unity where you cannot actually alienate yourself from the other person. Right? It's not a business contract where each person keeps their individuality without regard for the other person, and then they work together in the business to make money for the individuals who exist prior to the business transaction. Right? And if the business goes up, then the business goes up. A marriage actually makes the individual. You become a different kind of individual when you're married. You become a married individual, which is a different kind of individual. You don't become, it's not like you're an individual with a marriage. No, you are a married individual. It's just like milk with a little dab of chocolate syrup doesn't become milk with a little dab of chocolate syrup. It becomes chocolate milk. Right? It's a qualitatively different thing. And you can't just abstract the chocolate from the milk and have it be the same thing and still have chocolate milk. So if you don't understand how that works, if you hear anyone talking to you about, 50-50 and, or I pay it all or they pay it all. No, everyone goes all in. And I say this as a guy like with a good marriage and three wonderful kids, and who really does think that like if something happened between myself and my wife, or that would be a form, and we split up, that'd be a form of child abuse. Because the kids deserve access to both of us and to be able to see the unity. So you got a lot of people who grew up with either mercenary parents or prostitute parents who just kind of married their spouses because married their babies' mamas or whatever because as some sort of come up. And that's some sort. And then when the come up didn't come up, they divorced their spouse. And I find that is. And then you're taking advice from these people about relationships, and that's just a disaster because you're just taking advice about a mercenary. It's like taking advice from a prostitute about love. They're gonna say you do it for the money, right? That's stupid. Don't take relationship advice from anyone over 30 who isn't in a good relationship. Anyone single over 30 who isn't in a good relationship, don't take relationship advice from them. Unless they start out the relationship advice with, well, I screwed up because blank and blank. Right? So you got a lot of people, they grew up with single parents, or they don't understand the spiritual unity that is a family, and how a child and children deserve access to both their parents in a unified form. And they'll just tell you that it doesn't matter as much. But those are just broken people trying to make you broken because as some sort of cope. And they just have bad ideas. They're just ignorant. Right? They're just ignorant in a way that I find unbecoming. I also need some water, but I'll just make it all the way through there because I think the people need to know. The people need to know that ignorance abounds with respect to relationships, and anyone who tells you that it's 50-50, or anyone who tells you that, well, it's a business transaction. No, businesses are alienable entities. Families are not alienable entities. You cannot get away from your family. You cannot just kind of file bankruptcy from your family. Your family cannot fail without it being a failure about you. You can have 5 or 6 businesses that fail. It's no big deal because you tried something and it doesn't work. That doesn't fine. If you have 5 or 6 marriages that fail, you are a failure, and you're probably dangerous. You are dangerous. You are a degradation. You can be you can have 5 or 6 businesses that fail, and it's not a mark on, market culture or anything. It's actually just like the flowing of the market. If you have that with marriages, that means we have a bad marriage culture. That means that people just understand. There are explicit things you have to do and know what you're doing on purpose in order to make this go well. And we don't have a culture that teaches people what you have to do on purpose. We have people who can't collaborate trying to get in marriages because they think that they don't have to collaborate. They can just kind of extract what they want. And you know what? They turn up being horrible at the marriage. And they end either being really controlling, or they're just bad. They're just bad and bossy people because they never learned how to collaborate. But then now they're in a unity that requires, if any sort of respect is going to happen to dignify anybody, collaboration. Someone asks, who was the immigrant ally you mentioned in the H1 bigotry episode? Oh, Shama Sawant. It's K-S-H-A-M-A, Sawant, S-A-W-A-N-T. Thanks for the $5, after tab. So if I'll be on for another 10 minutes or so. I'll read the super chats as they come up. So go ahead and give some money, because this quality of insight costs. I want everyone to know what I'm doing, and I want everyone to live their life better so that you don't squander your life and you don't screw up and abuse your kids by getting married and divorced and then having special arrangements to deal with your kids' inability to form meaningful relationships because the one model they had was a screw up. I want to do this for the culture, so I do it for free. But everything costs, and I would actually rather be reading a pretty good book that I'm working through right now that I'm talking about next week. So if you appreciate what I'm doing, go ahead and go to www.funkyacademic.com. Kick in $5, $15, or $50 a month, and I'll keep doing it. And I'll do it with a little bit more dignity. I'm bringing on a guy to help production. So look out on TikTok. Pretty soon, apparently, I'm going to be on TikTok and Instagram. I don't have an Instagram account, but he's going to try to hook me up with an Instagram account, and I'll be doing shorts, and people are going to, get little bite-sized bits of wisdom. So if you want to pay his salary, nice guy, go ahead and kick in $5, $15, or $50 a month. Go over to funkyacademic.com, and he'll update the website and do all this other work that I have. I have too many kids. I have too many other responsibilities to do. So marriage isn't about what you can extract from your partner, or if the extractions are 50-50. It's about a different way of being. It's about a different quality of being. And if you want to be in that way, then go ahead and get married and start a family. Right? You don't ask, and stop taking marriage advice from business gurus or wannabe business gurus. You guys will take marriage advice from people who's from the wrong people, you'll take marriage advice from business gurus who are even bad at business. So let me tell you, let me tell you that don't take marriage advice from people over 30 who are single unless they start with, I screwed up, and don't take relationship advice from people who aren't in relationships you don't want to be in because they couldn't get it right, or unless they admit that, all right, so this is why I couldn't get it right, and they're actually thinking through. Those people could be useful. But anyone the self-satisfied group who still couldn't get it right, they're just incompetent. So, and anyone who thinks that a family is an individual joins a family to extract goods for that individual and contributes as an individual doesn't understand that joining a family changes what you are as an individual. You are a different kind of individual. And the divorce court's haram, right? Someone said, "Now marriage is a business." You find out in divorce courts. Divorce, we have to like kind of bastardize and reduce family through the legal apparatus, but it destroys what it is. And you would think that parenting is just like an alternate visitation. Like divorce court will tell you that parenting is just a matter of alternate visitation. No, every sort of visitation scheme is a failure because it's always 100-100. You can't split the baby. It's not just a contract, and it's child abuse and marital abuse. And I tell this to people that like gay marriage isn't a problem for marriage. Like casual divorce and mercenary culture is a problem for marriage because they don't get the unity that's involved. You don't get the unity that's involved, and and I feel like it's just generations of people talk about financial illiteracy. This is family illiteracy. It's generations of family illiteracy. Wow, that's a whole thing. Maybe I'll do a show on just family illiteracy where I just tell you guys how not to screw up your families. People talk about financial literacy. I'm going to tell you family literacy. And because these things are skills. And like most skills, most people are bad at most skills because skills take specific training. And if you haven't been specifically trained, then you're going to be bad at it. Now, if you think it's just natural, then you're going to be bad at it because it's not natural. We live in a modern world and with division of labor and complicated organizations, and we remade the world to kind of suit our needs. So you need to have the skill of what, like a meaningful family, of practicing and being in a meaningful family in a modern world. It's not going to be natural. Just like parenting isn't natural. Parenting, it'll be natural to like want to, if you're a mom, it'll be natural to breastfeed your kid, right? But we live in a modern world with like multiple options, and nothing natural is going to tell you about like which kind of formula to get for your kid and which daycare to pick and what are the options and all of those things. There's nothing natural about that skill set. It's a skill. Being a parent is a skill. Being a spouse is a skill. Reading is a skill. You have to learn how, and you need a teacher. And if you didn't get it at your home, then you don't know. You're just talking. What you do is, since you don't know the skill of actually being in a unity, what you do is you get all of your notions from media, and commercial private media, which has a bias towards getting you to solve your problems by spending money and thinking in terms of money. Right? And then, since you get all of your ideas about what marriage and meaningful relationships get from a commercial media that has an invested interest in getting you to tie meaning with spending and getting money. Nothing to say, just showing love. Thank you, Raisin Bread Talk. Then you start thinking about marriage and all of your meaningful relationships as some sort of means to get money, or some sort of means for the goods money promises you, some sort of come up. And then when it doesn't work out that way, and listen, black people, if you're watching me, it's probably not going to work out that way because we aren't a people who get rich. Even from marriage, we do a little bit better married when single sometimes, but like sometimes you're marrying into a liability. And like, look, and all, anybody who's marrying for a come up, I got to tell you that you're setting yourself up for a disappointment. You're setting yourself up for a disappointment. And you should really go into a marriage just assuming you're going to have to carry your partner for an indeterminate amount of time. Because something could happen, especially if you're black, right? You should just go into the marriage. Guys do this all the time. Guys just do this all the time with the assumption that like, well, if something happens, I'm going to have to carry my wife. That's just how it is. If a guy divorced his wife because his wife lost a job, that would be not only, we would say he's a failure of a man, and he's also a failure of a marriage. Now, if a woman divorced a guy because he lost his job, like we say that's her prerogative and that's her whatever. I think that's trash, right? So anybody who marries should be willing and like have the disposition that like, well, I guess I might have to carry him for the rest of his life, or I might have to carry her for the rest of her life if something goes wrong. Now, if you join a marriage, you shouldn't join a marriage to be a tax on your spouse. Does that make sense? So and also, and let me just, not just with your spouse, with kids, you should just assume that you're going to be parenting your kids for the rest of their life in some ways. You're going to be given free childcare, free advice. You're going to be like on the hook for your kids for the rest of your life. This whole 18 years old and kick them out, that is ignorance. That's not how you win. That's not how you win. I'm going to be parenting my kids for the rest of my life, and that's just kind of what I came. That's just like what it means to have a child. They don't stop becoming part of you. And they don't stop becoming part of you just because like they turn 18. And you don't stop being responsible for them. Actually, you should, if your kids still need you after 18, it's all your fault. Right? Because you had first 18 years to like actually help them grow. So yeah, kicking kids out at 18 is a form of child abuse. Like, it's your job to help them to grow. If you failed at your job, you don't just get to like write them off. Like, you had a whole 18 years to teach them how to go, right? So if you learn anything from this show, don't take advice from single people over 30. Don't take relationship advice from single people over 30 unless they start the advice with, well, I screwed up when I... Don't take advice from anyone who talks about 50-50. Because anytime you do that sort of like material math, quantitative math in terms of an intimate relationship, it's not like 50% of an orgasm, people. Anytime you do that sort of, or you get 50% pregnant, the child isn't 50% yours. No, it's your whole child. Anytime you do that sort of quantitative math with respect to a family or an intimate union, you're just importing the wrong logic. You're just importing the wrong logic into this union because of your own ignorance, and you probably just didn't grow up in a functional family. Because a functional family will tell you it's all 100-100. It's 100-100. It might look a different way, but there is no, like, it's 100-100, and we are in it together. Right? It's a different kind of individual. It's not like the marriage uses it's not like the individual uses the marriage for the sake of the individual. What you get is a different kind of individual within a marriage. You get a married individual. Right? So, yeah, I don't like I said, I got 3 kids. I don't love them each 33%. That's ridiculous. And if I split them up, I wouldn't spend time with like 33%. No, that's just not how. And you talk that math, you just have a bad frame to think about the logic of a family. And it's unfortunate that we give you a bad frame to think about the logic of a family, but a lot of you guys shouldn't have just slept with the wrong people, and you got the wrong people pregnant, and now you're trying to work backwards. Or you were raised by mercenaries who didn't want to admit that they were mercenaries or prostitutes, and they were just using the other people for like some sort of good, and then when the good ran out, they bounced, and now you have that as a model of what it is to be in a marriage. I'm sorry about that, and I'm just trying to help you not screw up your life, squander your life, and screw up your kids who now won't have a model of how, like, what collaboration in a family looks like. Right? You raise little mercenary kids, and then who don't know that they're mercenaries, who just think that that's fine, and they'll call me naive, me with the 3 kids and the family and everything that actually works. But I'm just telling you the truth. And I hope you appreciate it. By the way, you don't get money talking the way I do. You'll get some thanks, and I really do hope that, like, because you watch this, you won't squander your life or ask the wrong person to marry, or you'll have a good talk. And instead of your premarital counseling, which probably sucks, sit down and watch this video with your girlfriend or boyfriend, and then talk about what I'm saying. and talk about when I say divorce is child abuse. It is. I'm not saying that, I think divorce laws should happen for reasons, but they should be like abortion, rare, safe, and legal. But it is a form of child abuse, and you need to take it you need to take it as that and understand it as that. And yeah, thank you for your time, and I will see you next week talking about something completely different. Peace.